All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Side Quest Podcast, the unofficial podcast of Fitocracy. If you're not following me on Twitter, check me out at SideQuestFM. You can follow me on Instagram as well at SideQuestFM. You can head over to Facebook and like the podcast there. Just search SideQuest Podcast. And then the biggest favor I can ask of you is head over to iTunes. Search SideQuest Podcast, hit subscribe, and leave a review. When you do that, it moves us up the charts so that more people can see, without having to scroll all the way down page by page by page, the awesome, amazing guests that I have on the show each and every week. Or you can head over to the website at sidequestfitness.com/podcast and listen to the show there, as well as check out the articles I have posted up there. You can also check out my fitness page on Facebook, SideQuest Fitness, as well, if you are interested. I have a great guest for you today. He has some really cool arm tattoos that I can see in the video. But he is a fat loss coach. He coaches on Fitocracy as well. But he is the man behind the Fat Loss Inferno. So we're going to talk a little bit about burning that fat away that you might be trying to get rid of, or at least prevent from accumulating this winter. As we get closer to winter is coming, let me bulk up and eat all the carbs because it's cold and I want to keep warm. But the one and the only Mitch Heaslip. Did I pronounce the right last name?
Yeah, it's actually up for debate. There's a little bit of a family feud over that. I say Heaslip. Heaslip? People say Heaslip. Yeah, I say Heaslip, but I don't know if it's right or not.
Tomato, potato.
Exactly.
Potato. Sweet potato, that is. Sweet potato. Sweet potato doesn't sound, I don't know.
It sounds too classy for me.
Yeah, too classy. I'll keep it less classy. But Mitch, welcome to the show. For people who don't know about you or anything about you, how did you get into all of this? Were you a former athlete, or were you like many people, a former fat kid who just decided enough was enough and found a love for the weight room and became a coach?
Well, for me, I remember when I was in high school, when you're doing all these tests in high school about what your career should be, and I just had this fantasy, imagine if I could just teach people about training and working out. I was a basketball player in high school and college, and I loved to train for the sports, and I loved to train as a 16-year-old boy. I loved to train to look good as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so I remember thinking how awesome it would be to actually be able to work in this field, and it was almost kind of like a fantasy. I didn't think it was a real thing. This is back in a day when everyone's talking about careers and pensions and stuff like that. And but yeah, I mean, I just went for it. I started out as a personal trainer when I was 19 in a club called Good Life Fitness. It's a chain club up in Canada, and yeah, and basically I was an ex-athlete. I loved basketball, and I just transitioned right into training, and it was just my passion just continued on into lifting weights, and in-person training is what I did for about 6 years, and before the online thing became even like a possibility, or at least I was aware of it, and and kind of headed in that direction as well. So now I'm doing both. Like you said, Fitocracy has been awesome. I'm running Fat Loss Inferno on Fitocracy, so shout out the Fat Loss Inferno group. If you hear this, you will hear this because I'll send you the link. And and so that's basically where I'm basing my online coaching out of currently.
All right, cool. So I got to ask, because as a former basketball player, I'm assuming you look like you might be a tall guy. What position did you play?
Yeah, I played like a power forward spot.
All right.
But what I wanted to be, I was out on the wing. Even if I wasn't supposed to be, I was out on the wing shooting threes. I wanted to be cool like the guards. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, who didn't? I was stuck with being a point guard. I didn't want to be a point guard, man. I wanted to be inside. I wanted to be I wanted to post up and box out, and I wanted to have fun. Like that seemed more fun to me than come down, dribble the ball, start the play off. Like, ugh.
I guess the grass is greener on on every side.
I guess.
Yeah.
Plus, I was also kind of lazy and slow, and I don't know why he made me a point guard. But it is what it is. So why the fat loss inferno? Where did you kind of come up with that idea?
Well, the idea behind Foul Ass Inferno just came up because over my 10 years of experience, that's 95% of what people are looking for and what people need, especially over here in Western society. We just tend to eat too much. We're carb laden. We're oversaturated with carbohydrates. We're eating too much, and then eventually people want to lose that fat, and that's basically what most people want. So I wanted to service and affect as many people positively as I could. So that's the direction I took it in.
Okay. So I guess as an American, and it seems so weird sometimes chatting with people that I forget. Like, you say you're in Canada, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. Canada's like that cousin of America, but they're like, no, we're not. Like, we're our own thing. Like, God damn it, come on. But I gotta say, like, you guys in the last couple of years have just been killing it in almost everything except for Nickelback. So thanks, guys, for that one. But, like, I mean, with fitness and nutrition, it seems like everyone's sort of coming out of Canada. Even with, like, movies and film and comedy, like, and not that wasn't happening before. I mean, people like Rick Moranis and why am I forgetting all those awesome people out of Canada? Chevy Chase was out of Canada. All of those guys, like, they all came out of there as well. But I guess, like, as Americans, we kind of are presented sometimes as, like, Canada is like this slightly smarter but more advanced version of America at times. Maybe not as, like, puffed up and broed out as our persona loves to give us off. But I mean, how are you, like, as a coach, and how is it as a country? How are you guys sort of trying to fight the obesity epidemic? Are you guys also, just as much as everyone, I mean, now with the internet, are you overladen with, carbs are bad, or this is bad, or fad diet here, like, I don't know, because I just know from our media. I know your media is a little bit different.
Oh yeah, I'm actually in Texas right now. I live in Texas for the past year.
Well, that I did not know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've only been here a year, so I'm still very, very much Canadian, if you can't tell by how I'm talking. But in Canada, the media is very different, but it differs politically more than anything. I can't watch. It's still messed up. The media is still messed up in Canada. It's just maybe not as messed up. Maybe, but you're kind of right in your assessment that we're kind of like the cousin of America, because we do, you do set the trend, and Canada will follow. We have our own beer and hockey culture, but right. I mean, aside from that, our media is very much American, and we may be a little bit behind in the obesity, but that's just because we don't have states like, we don't have that Cajun, deep Southern fried type of culture. So I mean, we're right up there with you, just a half step behind, but we're on the way. So it's very much the same issues as you face down in America with obesity, with food. Like I said, the food travels. We mimic the food. We have we just have our own kind of thing too. We have poutine. I don't know if you guys know what poutine is, or if you've heard of that. Basically, it's French fries with beef gravy and cheese curds. Mm-hmm. That's our thing. So we have our struggles as well.
That poutine is, oh man, why are fats and carbs so good? Why are they so tasty?
Put them together, and it's out of this world.
Yeah, it's crazy, out of this world. So you have a great article, and I wanted to ask a question about it. And you wrote it just a little while ago here this summer, called "Get Out of Your Own Way and Crush Your Goals." Mm-hmm. So what goal have you had to, like, really get out of your own way, or do you really struggle with, like, being like, Mitch, get out of the way, just stop thinking, just do it?
Oh, like, boy.
What do you struggle with?
Oh, every goal that I've ever set, I struggle with that. And I mean, a lot of the, sometimes I'm writing to, sometimes these articles are something that I need, and if I need them, then there's probably other people that need them. It's not always an external observation. Sometimes it's an internal observation and just assuming there's going to be someone else that can help as well. But I'm an overthinker. You know, I struggle with the same thing. You know, you set your goal, and then you second guess it, or you second guess your actions, or you start to doubt yourself, or you know what I mean. So
yeah,
that's definitely, I can't even think of a specific goal, but I could pretty confidently say every goal I've ever set, I've struggled with it. But the whole key is to be mindful of it and be aware of it, so that way you're not condoning yourself to staying in your own way, so to speak, and allowing yourself to get in your head and second guess your goals. And then you can get yourself back on track and focus on your daily execution, because that's what really matters. It's not, once the goal is established, it's all about executing this tiny, tiny, minute steps on a daily basis, which are going to get you to that goal.
Okay. Do you have, so what are some tiny things that you try and do every day that help benefit you in achieving the goal, that maybe you kind of tell your clients, or maybe you haven't really told your clients, and maybe it's something that you think is a little weird, but you do it anyways and it works for you? Like, what tiny little things do you do that help you achieve your goal?
Like fitness-specific goals?
No, fitness-specific, business-specific, whether it's getting up and being like, you know what, I make my bed. I get a win by making my bed. I would do that, but my wife would be asleep, and then she'd be like, what are you doing? I'm covering you up. I'm covering you up. I love you, covers. Like, I don't know. What little things do you do that really help push you further?
Yeah, I'll give you a weird one. Or maybe it's not so weird, but it's a little bit weird. In the shower, because that's the first thing I do when I wake up, is like run to the shower, because that's going to wake me up and get me in gear.
Yeah.
Basically, I find the shower, because you have nothing to do but just be under the water, and if you're like me, you probably sit there for about 5-10 minutes before you even do anything. So you're standing under the water, and I find this is kind of where you dictate your attitude for the day. So just be, whenever you first wake up, whenever I first wake up, I'm in the shower, I am very diligent in dictating what attitude I'm going to choose for that day. So it's either going to be, oh man, you're going to think about all this stuff you have to do, or why this isn't fair, or that's not fair, or you're going to choose the attitude to be grateful to have the opportunity to do these things, or the opportunity to take this challenge and, you know, impose your will on it, and, you know, think of your workday as like an opportunity to do something better today than you did yesterday. So it's just all about selecting your attitude before you even do anything, and it makes a huge difference. Otherwise, you know, whatever attitude you adopt first thing in the morning, that's pretty much, you just selected the theme for your day.
Actually, that's a really, that's a lot better than what I do in the shower. Usually it's just like, because, you know, you're right. You stand under the shower for like 5 minutes and you're like, oh, warm water, please don't go away.
Yeah.
But no,
and, you know,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, it doesn't have to be a huge dedication of time. You don't have to take 15 minutes and give yourself a Rocky Balboa level pep talk. It just has to be like a very conscious selection of how you're going to approach every bump that you come across that day, because you know you're going to come across bumps. Things are not going to go as you planned, and you have to be prepared mentally to how you're going to handle that.
Well, so speaking on that, so a lot of people, and I mean, all of us included, I myself do it, everyone does. What do you do when you're in the shower and that negative thought comes across, and all of a sudden you start noticing that, oh my God, I am preparing myself to have a shitty day? Like, how do you make a U-turn and change it? Like, what do you do? Or do you sort of just accept, okay, fine, I guess this is what my mind wants to do, or do you fight it?
I wouldn't say you fight it, because you do take a U-turn, but you take it very gently. You don't fight the negative thought. You just shift your focus to a positive thought. So whenever you're fighting a negative thought, that means you're focusing on it, and that means that's still the focus of your day, is that negative thought. Instead of trying to get that negative thought out of your head, since you're consciously, like you said, you're like, wow, I'm preparing myself for a shitty day. Now you're conscious of it, and now you have the opportunity to make a new choice. So forget the negative thought. It can stay there if it wants, but now you just have to think of a positive thought, and then think of another positive thought. And eventually the positive thoughts push out the negative thought. So it's not so much a you're going to aggravate yourself if you try and fight the negative thought off, because you're just not going to. That means you're just giving it all the attention in the world, and it's now, getting bigger and bigger in your mind. So yeah, I just replace it with positive thoughts, and be gentle on yourself about it, because this doesn't need to be an extra stressor in your life trying to get a hold of your thoughts. It's a process. It takes practice, but it's just about whenever you're conscious of your negative thoughts, and they will come, you just consciously replace it with a positive one.
That actually is something I practice, or try and practice myself, and teaching my own clients, is that you're going to have those thoughts, but you have when that thought comes, you're kind of standing at a crossroads. You can choose to continue down the path of that thought, or you can choose to, this thought doesn't add any positive value to me or my day or my life, so I'm going to choose to go the opposite way. And then it takes time, but your brain starts to make those neural connections and disengage those old ones. And it's tough. I think one thing I've discovered is, I think the biggest battle with fat loss, and we'll talk about this in a second, because you have another great post about fat loss being simple, because it is, but it isn't. Because I think the hardest thing is we have to fight ourselves.
Yep.
We can go to the gym, we know we should eat better, we know what we should eat, but we have to fight those chemicals in our brain that our brain has become so dependent upon, and it really just becomes a battle of you versus yourself. Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, that's actually I like your perspective on that negative thought too. Is it pops up and it's small and weak right now, but you can just choose to let it die off and burn out, right where it is, or you can choose to fuel it. But yeah, you're absolutely right about fat loss. There's nothing really that complex about it. Now, you can totally geek out on nutrition and training.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I think that is the, and I admit, running the boot camps that I had ran this summer, people would come up to you and they want to speak to you. And one of the things I learned, and I'm writing a post about this, is they don't care. They just want an answer. They want a one-sentence answer. But I want to geek out because I'm like, but I know all this stuff and I read it, and it's like Christmas and I'm like the 64 kid and I got a 64 and I want to tell you all about it. But it really is that simple. But for those of us like you and I and other coaches that listen to this, or other people out there, we geek out on data, and we geek out on well, this can hack it and this can do that and that can do that. But really, people just want the most simple plan. So if you could wrap up, your approach to fat loss, and I'm sure it's pretty simple to mostly everyone else's, but what is your one sentence for fat loss that you tell clients when you take them on?
Well, one sentence. Wow, I don't know if I could wrap it up into a sentence. It's but basically it is very simple. And okay, well, I mean, yeah, one sentence. It's you have to burn more than you consume.
Okay.
And that's fat loss.
Burn more than you consume. That seems so easy, and then people are like, but wait, what do you mean?
Yeah, and of course there's a lot more to it than that.
Right,
but not that much more. I mean, you hammer down the basics and you've got 95% of it, and the geek out stuff is the last 5% that is debatably even necessary for most people. But yeah, it's about consuming less calories than you burn, and training hard and eating right. There's a lot of different nutritional approaches, and it really depends on the client, I think, and it's about adherence. It's not so much about one method being better than the other. It's about what is this person going to buy into and believe in? Because that's what it comes down to.
Right.
If you take the worst program and put the pedal to the floor, you're going to have better results than the person who takes the greatest program ever written and second guesses it and half-asses it throughout the duration of the plan.
Yeah.
It's all about buying into it and applying it. Pin the pedal to the floor and get after it.
Right, and I think that's you mentioned adherence, like, and finding a diet. I think everyone is looking for, they're looking for a lifestyle or a diet that they can adhere to, and something like cutting out one whole part of macronutrients is, oh my God, okay, so that's what's been making me fat all these years. But once you do that, it's very hard. Like if you go complete paleo and you cut out all grains and all bread and all of that, there's only so much you can eat in restaurants if you go out with friends. There's only so, like, you've just limited your food source. And if you do the same thing with, I'm going to go high carb, low fat, well, you just, like, same thing, like you cut out tasty steak. Like, you basically just have to eat chicken breast and shrimp, which, as tasty as that can be, like, unless, like, I have a friend's wife who's like, I can't do it. I don't know how you guys do it. She's talking about my friend and I. She's like, you guys can eat the same thing every day, and I will go crazy. But I guess trying to find, some people can. Some people can eat chicken, rice, and broccoli every day. Some people need to have variety.
I find even the guys who are prepping for a show who eat nothing but chicken breast and yams, and what happens as soon as they do their show? They put on 25 pounds the next day because they ate out the whole Brahms dairy. You know what I mean? They just crushed a whole bunch of ice cream. So I don't know if the extreme approach is really the right approach for anybody unless you are competing in a show or preparing for some type of event or photo shoot or something specific like that. It has to there has to be some type of variety and there has to be some type of treat food in there. It just has to be, you have to be honest with yourself, and it just can't be, you've probably heard the 80% rule or the 90% rule. Everyone has their own percent that they apply to it, but basically it has to be, I like to say 90% quality foods and 10%, eat for fun.
So what do you eat for fun when you come up to your 10%? Is it an ice cream parlor that you go to and you just decimate everything? Is it wings and beer? Is it poutine? Do you make some homemade poutine and just pound the poutine? Wow, that sounded really awful. As it came out of my mouth. Good thing there's an explicit.
That sounds real sexy, actually. Yeah, it sounds real
Pound the poutine.
I want some poutine now. No, I tried making homemade poutine one time, failed miserably, and that was the first and last time I tried it. I was trying to show it to my wife when we were just dating. I was down in the States where I met her, and I tried to make some poutine, and I was like, yeah, this is the food of my country, and I burnt everything. The cheese didn't melt, so I just destroyed it. She wasn't impressed. But now my cheat, whenever I'm going off the plan, ice cream is a good go-to. It's either going to be ice cream, like I mentioned Brahms. That's because that's my go-to. I like to go to Brahms and grab one of those big filthy sundaes, or it's going to be something like nachos and beer. It's probably going to include beer.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right, so you have a couple of really great articles on sleep, and I know that's sort of like the one thing that people forget is important. They're like, I want to work hard, I want to hit the nutrition, but I'm not going to bed until midnight, and then I'm up at 5:30 or what have you. So what are do you have any tips or tricks or things you do to get yourself to bed earlier, to keep you from being distracted from sleep, that you kind of share with your clients, or maybe you don't, you just something you naturally do that you have always done?
Yeah, when this is actually one of those articles that I wrote because it's something that I would struggle with, and it's not so much about struggling with making a decision to go to sleep. I think it's like most people, there's just some nights where you're ready to go to sleep, and then you lay down, and now it's like, wait a minute, I have to solve every problem in the world right now. I'm gonna save the world before I go to sleep. So so yeah, that's I know there's a lot of people that struggle with that as well, and that's something that I struggle with. So sleep being as important as it is, you know, even without getting into the hormones and everything like that, you talk about performance, like you said, like you want to go hard in the gym, you want to go hard at your job, you want to have room and time to spend time with your family and make the most out of it, but you're not resting adequately, then you're gonna lose out on all that stuff. Also, you talk about nutrition, decision making. Whenever you're tired and fatigued, your ability to make quality decisions goes right out the window. Now you're eating poorly. So sleep's super important, and we all kind of know it, but it gets put in the back burner. And so some things that I've found really helpful is I've taken up meditation, and I always recommend meditation because, and I'm not very good at it, but I still do it. And it's the reason I recommend meditation is because it teaches you how to actually consciously calm your mind down, which is the issue with falling asleep. Whenever you're not able to sleep, your mind is basically like a TV flicking channels at an uncontrollable rate, and you're just thoughts running through your head like a train that you're not really driving. So meditation will teach you how to quiet that down, slow it down, and to the point where your mind can actually go completely blank and you can actually allow your body to rest, because your body's going to respond to your thoughts, and if your body's responding to your thoughts, then you're not going to be sleeping. Yeah. So that's my biggest recommendation for sleep. That's one that's helped me the most, and it's helped a lot of my clients the most.
Do you meditate before bed? Do you meditate first thing in the morning? Do you like middle of the day?
I think I personally do it whenever I can, and it tends to be towards the end of the day. But I really believe, even if you did it first thing in the morning, I really believe it's going to positively affect your sleep. Because even if the effects of that meditation don't carry on throughout the day, you know, you meditate, now you have a stressful day, and then you try and sleep, you're still learning and practicing to calm your mind down. So you can take those skills and apply them to going to sleep.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. I suck at meditating as well, and I have this. I'll do it for a while and then I stop, and then I'll do it for a while and then I stop, and then I don't do it for a while, and then I'm like, oh, I should do that meditating thing again.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really good YouTube videos if you find you're sitting down and meditating and your mind just will not calm down. I find if you're listening to someone guide you through it, then your mind is less likely to jump around on you. So, I mean, just YouTube some good meditation videos and try them out.
Yeah, and this is what I would suggest to anyone as well who might be sort of on the fence about it. Get Headspace or even Calm or those YouTube videos. But once you feel like you have, after, let's say maybe after 5 days, and you feel like you have a decent understanding of what to do, get outside. Go sit in nature. Go sit in a forest. Go on the beach at something. Like, getting outside and then focusing on your breathing, like, all of a sudden meditating, just like you feel it a lot more. At least I do. If I'm going to meditate, and I know it sounds like I'm some crazy hippie from like 1969 Woodstock, where I'm like, yeah, man, just go out in the woods and breathe. But it does, because you hear the birds, you don't hear the noises of your neighborhood. You don't hear your kids running around, or you don't hear your wife calling you. Like, you're able to get out, and it's sort of like you're able to sort of be in this bubble. And for me, it works. And then when I open my eyes, sometimes it just feels, God, I sound like a hippie. It feels like the world is a little brighter, like the sun is a little warmer, I guess. I don't know. I know that sounds crazy, but I think getting out in nature and doing that is good occasionally, and it helps.
Oh, that's awesome advice, man. And I know what you're talking about when you say the sun's a little brighter, and I think that's just the awareness of we're getting real hippie-ish right now, but I think that's just the awareness of the moment. You know what I mean? Like, instead of, you're not thinking about what you have to do in the future, and you're not regretting what you did in the past. You're just kind of right there where you should be. So I think I know what you're talking about. But that's awesome advice. I haven't actually done that.
Yeah, it's definitely I've done it a couple mornings before boot camps, and I did a meditation session on the beach during sunrise. It was you know it was nice, and then I did it on top of a mountain in Acadia National Park, and then I got lost for 2 hours. So I don't know if that was any good, but it did. It felt good. My mind felt clear. And all I got to say is the week after I got back, I wrote more for my blog and more, like I spent more time writing and was inspired and came up with more ideas than I have had in the last month.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I will attribute it to that, but again, that's causation, correlation, whatever. I'm gonna say that it was the meditating on top of a mountain. Also, on top of a mountain, you have less oxygen, so maybe there's that as well. But yeah, the mountains have always sort of been my go-to getaway when I need to clear my mind. Anyways, but
that's very cool.
let's talk a little food prep, because you have a great food prep section on your site. I love prepping food. I try and hammer it home to my clients that if there's only one thing that I can ask you to do, only one thing when it comes to nutrition and it comes to your diet, is plan your meals out for the week. And if you know you're going to have chicken 2 nights a week, throw it in a crock pot and let it cook. You don't have to do any work, but prepping your food and planning it out, you're going to save on the choices and the feeling of stress you have later in the week. There's really not much to do on a Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon that you can't do it, or even early on a Saturday morning, or when you're sitting at lunch at work. Just write down what you're going to eat, for next week, and just plan it out. And then prep it. Of course, if you're doing meat, you can prep your salads a couple days ahead of time if you want. And then if you got a rice cooker, you got your rice, if that's what you want to do. I don't really like prepping sweet potatoes ahead of time. I just microwave them for like 12 minutes and then eat them.
Yeah.
But that's just me. So what is the craziest meal idea for your food prep that you came up with that after, and let's say you had it for a couple of days that week, but after eating it the first time, you were like, oh God, this is awful. Like, what's the craziest meal that you were like, this is going to be awesome, and it wasn't?
You know what? I'm actually not too crazy with my food preps. To be honest with you, I am extremely basic, and if you see anything cool on my Pinterest board, that's because my wife is a food prep machine. So I don't think we've had a real flop yet, and maybe that's just because I love to eat everything. So you'd be hard pressed to find something that I'm not gonna eat anyways. I think. You know what? I can't think of anything specific, but there might have been something that had some ingredients that half of them had to be warmed up and half of them really shouldn't have been warmed up. So whenever you're at work and you warm it up, it ended up being awful. I can't remember what it was, but I'm a very basic food prep type guy, and I'm like you said, the crock pot, it will be your best friend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have anything. I'm a bit boring with my food preps, but thankfully my wife can come up with some really cool stuff for that Pinterest board and the website, so that's where that all comes from.
Well, the wives, I got to admit, mine spends a lot of time on Pinterest, and I'm like, honey, we already have 60 recipes in a folder. We don't need another 15 to choose from. I like the barbecue pineapple chicken tacos. Can't we just eat those all week? Oh, yes, we can eat all right, awesome. At least I win that one.
Exactly.
But speaking of, and I think this is something I've never really covered with anyone, who has a significant other, or maybe a girlfriend that lives with them, someone that it's more than just you prepping your meals, or more than you following your macros and counting all of this while you're on a diet. Are there any? How do you and your wife, when your goal is like, all right, I got to get ripped. It's beach season. I got to get hot, and she's like, I mean, you're kind of okay. I don't really whatever. How do you work together as a team to keep the meal prep when she's, when you're going hardcore and she's kind of comfortable where she is? Are there any tips or tricks you give to people when it comes to working with a significant other?
Yeah. See, I'm pretty lucky in that regard that she's always aware of what my current goal is, and if she's prepping some food that I can't necessarily squeeze into the diet, I always will just prep my own food. I mean, my go-to is just chicken breast in the crock pot with some broth and some spices, and worst case scenario or quickest case scenario, throw some frozen vegetables in with it, not in with it, but as a meal, and there you go. So worst case scenario, if I really have to tighten the screws and hammer down on my diet, I have my go-tos and I will prepare my own food, and that's my biggest advice. And that's a common excuse that I'm sure we all encounter as coaches is, well, my kids don't like this, and my husband doesn't like that, and he won't eat this, and so you feel like so you feel like you have to eat the same food as everyone else is going to be eating, and that's just not the case. At some point, you have to take responsibility for what you put in your mouth, and if your wife or husband doesn't buy the groceries that you need, then you have to go and buy your own groceries. Make a 20-minute sweep through the grocery store and pick them up. You have to prepare your own foods, and because you're food prepping, right?
Yeah.
It's easy. You just cook it all at the same time. So that is a common excuse, but the thing with food is that food is sacred, and it's the hardest thing to change. It's like we were talking about earlier. It's very simple, but for some reason, just mentally, emotionally, it's just very difficult to change. And I think dealing with a significant other or children is an excuse to lean on. But at the end of the day, you're very capable of buying and cooking your own food as well.
Yeah, you are, and it's very tough because food is, it brought cultures together. It brought families together. Like it was a thing that you would sit down and share a meal with someone. That's why, like, that scene, now granted it happened in real life, but like the Red Wedding, like a wedding was a big meal. Like, you don't kill someone, while they're having a meal with you. Like that is, the biggest no-no you could make. So for a lot of people it's tough to be like, you know what, I fixed this for you and the kids, but I have to have this. And I think if anyone is listening and you struggle with that, I think it's something that, both people have to realize that, this is, everyone sort of forgets when you get in a relationship at times, at least in my opinion, and I've suffered with this, is that it's two people trying to work together, but we often forget that sometimes the other person has a goal that they need to focus on. Like, they need something for them.
Right.
So we need to do whatever we can to help them achieve that. And that can be difficult because we want everyone to be the same. We grow up, mom and dad and the kids, like, we're all eating Spam that mom made and macaroni and cheese that mom made because mom's not the best cook in the world. Love you, Mom. No, my mom was awful. That's why, like, halfway through, my dad was like, no more boxed mac and cheese and Spam. I'm going to start cooking dinner. But I think that sometimes we forget that, teamwork doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing. A basketball team, like, the point guard has a position. In their position, they've got to do what they got to do to make, everyone else better. And everyone else has to do what they have to do, as in, like, setting picks to make the point guard better. Like, you have to work together, but it doesn't mean that you all have to move in the same direction. Sometimes you've got to, give and take. But it is. Go ahead.
If you're a spouse and your significant other is trying to accomplish this goal, my biggest question is, why are you impeding that?
Yeah.
And ask yourself if you're moving from fear or if you're moving from love. And I'll answer that for you. You're moving from fear, and you have to step out of the way. You have to let them grow. You have to let them improve themselves. There's nothing to be afraid of. And that's an obstacle that, if you are trying to accomplish a goal and your significant other is blatantly impeding you, enabling your old behaviors and making it very difficult on purpose for you to accomplish your goal, that's something I have empathy for. I have a lot of sympathy for that, because that is a tough scenario to change your eating habits whenever you're actually being sabotaged at home, and that is tough. But at the same time, I mean, it's one of those things. To break it down to its simplest terms, you just have to you just have to prepare your own food and buy your own food in that case, and power through it. But that is an unfortunate situation, and you're absolutely right in what you're talking about. You know, teamwork. Let them accomplish their goal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen it with a client of mine. You know, she's lost an amazing amount of weight and gotten a lot stronger. And you know, she would make her own food outside of what she made, you know, for the family. Though I got to say, man, kids, they don't know how good they have it. The fact that they can just eat mounds and mounds of like carbs and sugar, and they're others running around. Well, some kids, not all kids. But at least my nephew, good grief. It's like, I don't want to eat the vegetables. I don't want to eat the meat. I just want to like eat some of this and then go play. Like food doesn't even register to him. He just wants to go play.
Right. Well,
like,
this is an awesome opportunity to teach your kids about eating healthy too, and what the kids want. You know, if the kids aren't given candy and junkier type dinners, then they're eventually not gonna want them. And I'll tell you one thing: they're not going to die of starvation before they eat that healthy meal. So
no.
I think it's also a great opportunity for them to learn to eat some healthy food, because they are the adults of the future, and you don't want them to suffer from obesity as well.
Right. Right.
Give them that head start.
Yeah, and it's you know, it's pretty tough, you know, because I remember growing up eating pizza all the time and this and that, and but I was pretty active. I mean, when we went over to my friend's house, like, we played video games, but we were outside playing basketball as well, or playing football. Like, we were doing all of that. We weren't just sitting inside watching people play Minecraft.
Right.
Which I still don't get, but okay. I'm 29 now. I'm not gonna get it. But yeah, it's tough to teach that. You know, and it's hard to break those habits once we establish them. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I love pizza, but if I had the choice, I don't think I would choose to go out and eat pizza. I think I'd rather have tacos. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
You know, like there are foods I'd rather have, and though pizza is good, you know what I'd rather do? I'd rather get like a Thomas bagel, like an everything bagel, and make a bagel pizza, because it's really tasty. Like,
yeah.
You know, I don't actively want to go eat the Domino's unless it's a Fat Boy's Delight. Now that, my friend, that from my time working at Domino's, whoo! It's one we made up one night. It's a large thin crust, ranch sauce as the base, chicken kickers as the topping, bacon, regular mozzarella cheese, cheddar cheese, and hot sauce. Oh,
that sounds good.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, kind of teaching that to the younger generation is very important, and get them in the kitchen. Let them, you know, that's what I told, you know, my sister, you know, let them know how to cook. I mean, don't hand them a sharp knife, but, you know, teaching them how to cook is very, very important, more so than here's how you know, make box macaroni and cheese, because that's all I could tell you how to make as a kid. Like, I had to teach myself how to cook, and knowing how to cook, you're going to save so much money, and you're going to make way tastier foods.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. I mean, so many people, whenever they're trying to overhaul their nutrition, trying to go from eating out every single meal to food prepping, and that's quite a transition.
Oh, so it's a huge transition. Yeah.
If you have some cooking skills to back you up, then it's going to make your life so much easier.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, the great thing about cooking is, who cares? Like, if it sucks, all right, fine, you eat it. You just kind of chomp it down for that one meal, but then you never have to make it again. You know, like, and you can experiment. Basically, just wrap everything in bacon, and you can't lose.
No, you can't.
I actually wrapped a pork chop in bacon once. That's right. I wrapped pork in its own self. Yeah.
How was that? How did that turn out?
Pretty tasty. Not gonna lie. I'm still trying to find that perfect way of like cooking bacon, like slightly on the oven and then wrapping it, and then like it actually coming out sort of crispy and not sort of the way it does. I don't know. Maybe I need to bake it first. I don't know what I got to do. So I'm still trying to figure that out.
When you figure it out, you got to write about it, because we're gonna want to know.
Oh, of course. All right, so a couple of fun questions, Mitch, that I always enjoy asking. What track is on your workout mix that you would shamefully admit to others you listen to?
Shamefully?
Shamefully.
I don't know. Is it shameful? I'm a big Drake fan. Is that shameful? I don't know, because I mean, he's a little bit of a corny dude, but I have Drake all over all my playlists. Big Drake fan. Other than that, I don't think there's anything too shameful. I listen to hip hop pretty much exclusively, and yeah, probably Drake would be the most shameful, just because he's a little bit, nothing too out there.
Nothing wrong with Drake. I mean, I think I feel like when I listen to a lot of his songs, the beats are very similar, and his delivery is very similar, and sometimes I'm like, come on, give me something a little different.
Oh, I used to have a lot of Usher in my playlist, even like the slow songs. Yeah, I used to, and that doesn't make any sense. Like, why am I trained to it? It's because I just liked Usher so much back in the day.
Yeah.
It would make the training playlist every time, because I was like, this is my chance to hear it. So yeah, even some of the Usher, like Loving This Club and all that stuff, yeah, that was on the list. Not anymore, but it was.
I mean, he's been replaced by Drake. That's cool though. All right, if you could be any superhero, what superhero would you be?
I would have to say, my favorite superhero growing up was Spider-Man, but it doesn't really suit me. I would have to say I like Thor. I like Thor as a character, for a mainstream character. Maybe Wolverine. Yeah, I'm probably more like Thor. Wolverine's a bit more of a badass type than me, but Thor's got the sick physique.
Oh yeah.
And the sick hair.
Chris,
yeah, he's got the awesome hair, awesome physique. He's a god, demigod. All that. Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah, Hemsworth looks ridiculous. Yeah, I'm amazed almost every time he films and then goes to do something else and he's slightly smaller, and I'm like, but your gains, where did all your gains?
Yeah, why'd you let your gains go like that? Come on.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think that's happening this time, because he pretty much went from like Avengers 2 right into Ragnarok, so which is gonna be awesome. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm excited to see Ant-Man. We'll see what happens with.
Same here. I'm surprised he went with that character, but
I am too. It's a very interesting. I don't know. I don't know how it will work, but we'll see. I like Paul Rudd. I love Paul Rudd.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope he pulls it off pretty well. But all right. So I'm assuming you and I are probably within the same age range ish. So I gotta I gotta ask, and every guy can admit it. And I don't know if growing up in Canada, I'm assuming they were just as big. Backstreet or NSYNC?
No, come on.
You didn't listen.
Did you like either of them?
Okay, come on, admit it.
No.
You had at least one or two of the songs like on a mix CD or mixtape that you were listening to that like you were like, please no one notice that I'm listening.
No, I honestly, I would be dead honest about it. I did not have them on my playlist. They had some catchy songs. Both of them had some catchy songs. And you know what? I guess if I had to pick, I'd say NSYNC, because Justin is badass.
Oh, Timberlake is ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll purchase a Justin Timberlake album.
Oh yeah, 2020 wasn't. I thought Future Sex Love Sounds was fantastic. It was not a 2020 was okay, but it wasn't like, there was some good stuff, but it just didn't have that, like, something about Future Sex Love Sounds just had. I was like, ooh, all right.
That's a good album. Like, but I mean, the boy bands, I didn't really. They both had some catchy songs, but I didn't.
Well, all right. If one of them comes on at a wedding, which song are you gonna like? Which one would you dance more hardcore to?
Probably the Backstreet Boys. Backstreet's Back.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. That's what Kina Kadem said as well, and then I put it on my squat mix, and squatting was awesome that day.
It was.
Oh yeah.
I might work it in the mix then.
Greg Knuckles said it, and as much as I hate to say it, he might be right. I loaded up some Katy Perry, and dude, squatting to Katy Perry, there's something about I don't know.
You know, I'm willing to try anything, and if it's gonna help my squat, I'll go for it.
All right. If you could have dinner with anyone in history, who would it be?
Probably Nikola Tesla.
All right.
Nikola Tesla. I'd probably go Tesla, just because I have so many questions about his concepts and his thoughts, and not so much his inventions, but just the stuff he thought.
Yeah,
and
like
he was so sure about.
Yeah, like what he essentially revolutionized. Like, I don't know, just his thoughts revolutionized and paved the way for things later on. It's like, where did you come up with this? Like,
Right.
like,
where's it coming from? Yeah, I know he's going to say it's coming from that central core of intelligence in the universe, but and now that's going to lead into 1,000 more questions. But he has some interesting thoughts. He was suppressed so heavily. So yeah, I'd just love to get him to open up and talk about whatever he wants to talk about.
Yeah, it would be interesting because when you read about him, you kind of wonder, like, dude, did you go to the future? Like,
yeah.
Are you building a time machine? Like, I don't understand. Did you just get stuck in the past and you're talking about, like, because it's just
exactly. I swear there's something up with Tesla. Yeah, there's something going on there.
Yeah, so it's so crazy. Well, Mitch, I've had an awesome time, chatting with you on the show today. If there's one takeaway or one thing you can give the audience that's listening that maybe you tell your clients when it comes to the fat loss journey, what's one thing you can tell them to that will keep their head high, and one thing they can do to keep themselves focused on the goal?
It would definitely be to be gentle on yourself and be very conscious of how you talk to yourself. If you're talking to yourself like your worst enemy, then you're just kind of sabotaging yourself and feeling like a failure. You need to talk to yourself like you're your best friend. If your best friend was trying to eat better and make changes, but they missed a workout, and they came to you and they were like, I missed a workout, I'm screwing up, I'm never going to get it, you wouldn't be like, yeah, sounds like you're fucking up, right? You'd be like, no, listen, you're overhauling your nutrition, you're eating better, you're training consistently, so what, you missed a workout, you're doing awesome, get after it.
Yeah.
Make sure you talk to yourself like you're your best friend, and don't talk to yourself as if you're your worst enemy. That's the biggest takeaway, because adherence is the name of the game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You have to be in this for the long haul. You need to keep it up, keep consistent, and the biggest way to do that is to actually enjoy the process and not be hard on yourself about it. Enjoy the process of learning, enjoy your mistakes, enjoy the process of just getting a little bit better every day.
I like that. That's a great takeaway. Talk to yourself as if you're your best friend. And if your best friend would yell at you like that, you might need a new best friend.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
But no, I like that. That's a very good way to put it. As we close out the show. But I just thought of one more, and I'll ask. So you mentioned that you moved to Texas and you've been living in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
What is one thing that you thought or were told about Texas when you moved from Canada that when you got there you were like, well, that's not really true?
Hard to say, because I came down here a bunch of times before I moved here. Yeah. I'm a certified firefighter as well, and I took my fire training in College Station, Texas. But we don't really have we do have misconceptions, just like they do about Canada. I mean, I was asked if we live in igloos, and then but I mean, and then Canadians ask if everyone rides horses down here, or if everyone has their sidearm visible. Yeah. Revolvers on their hip and cowboy hats, and I live in Dallas, and so maybe that is true in some parts of Texas, but not so much Dallas. So there's misconceptions. I felt like the middleman between Canada and Texas, and explain to the Texans that no, we don't live in igloos and we don't have polar bears walking around, and explaining to the Canadians that no, you don't really see a whole lot of pistols out and cowboys riding horses down the street.
Maybe in West Texas, but not so much in Dallas.
Maybe in West Texas. I haven't been out there, but
unless Jerry Jones is on a parade, and by a parade I mean Jerry Jones creating a parade for himself, because that's just what he does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the only NFL owner who's like, I get a press conference every single time anyone brings up the Cowboys. It's like, really, Jerry? Really?
I know. Yeah, they're losing a lot of fans.
Oh, yeah. But, well, if by losing you mean those fans are leaving Texas and going everywhere else in the world, then yes, they're losing. I swear to God, like a plague of a locust, you could be in Fargo, North Dakota, in the middle of June. One guy walks in with a Dallas Cowboys jersey, and all of a sudden there's like 6 more. I'm like, where do you people come from?
Seriously?
Dude,
oh, that's crazy.
Like, Cowboys fans are everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Like, you could literally be you could be in a sports bar on the border of like U.S. and Canada, and I would bet you money that during a day of football, I guarantee you that at least 3 or more Cowboys fans would walk into the restaurant.
Oh, that's crazy.
I mean, they're just it's crazy. Like that's why they call them America's team, because in the '90s they were so popular and everyone just jumped on the bandwagon.
The bandwagon's still full, I guess.
Yeah. I guess it is. But Mitch, I've had an awesome time. If more people want to know more about you, where can they find you online, on social, or on Photocracy?
Yeah, Photocracy. My name is Coach Mitch, and the group is Fat Loss Inferno. If you're not a fat loss person, if you don't need to, if your goal isn't to lose fat, then you can. I also run a program called Bony to Brawny Maximum Muscle, and that's for those who want to build a bunch of muscle and change the aesthetic of their body. Social, all over social all the time. Facebook, facebook.com/Mitch Heaslip Fitness. Twitter, my ad is Mitch Heaslip. That's Heaslip. Instagram, it's Mitch Heaslip. And what else am I on? LinkedIn, Google Plus is all the same. YouTube is Mitch Heaslip. So yeah, find me everywhere.
Awesome. Well, I will link up the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, Photocracy, and the YouTube, because you have some great videos out there as well.
I appreciate it.
So guys, please head over to Mitch at MitchHeaslipFitness.com, as well as on social. Start following him. He has some great tips. He also has some pretty awesome shoulders, not gonna lie. Just from the photos online, he's a big dude. So whether you're trying to add muscle or lose fat, he's a great coach to check out. But Mitch, thank you again for coming on, and I've had an awesome time.
Me too, man. It's an honor to be on the show too. I really appreciate you asking me.
No problem.